Hello, Bloomfield Middle School students. We are so happy to be able to talk to you today. We're going to give you a little presentation from Bloomfield High School. My name is Dr. Pierce. I'm one of the assistant principals, and I'm here today with Mr. Gentry and Ms. Tula, two of our ninth grade counselors. And we're going to talk to you about all things having to do with the high school for next year. If you have any questions after this, we're going to direct you back to your counselors, but we're going to just give you some quick basic information about picking courses and some other things having to do with ninth grade at the high school. And I'm going to start by giving you a little idea of what we're talking about. We're going to talk about the start time and the schedule in general at the high school. We're going to talk about picking classes. We're going to talk about some attendance and technology things. And finally, some fun things, activities, clubs, and sports. I'm going to start by introducing Mr. Gentry, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the schedule, and I'm going to show you how to actually enter your course requests into PowerSchool. So, Mr. Gentry, you're up.
Hi, everyone. Like Dr. Pierce said, my name is Mr. Gentry. I can't wait to see everybody next year, and excited to give you some important information to try to help with any high school questions you might have. We'll start with talking about the schedule a little bit. School starts at 7:45 a.m. here. That means the first class is at 7:45, so you need to be here a few minutes before that just to be ready. And our day normally ends at 2:35, except for Wednesdays, which we'll get to in a second. And there are frequently teachers here that stay after school for tutoring and extracurricular activities that go on after school, but our regular day ends at 2:35. There are 7 instructional periods plus a lunch period. So we have 7 periods that doesn't include lunch. We'll talk about what compromises all those periods in a little bit, but just so you're aware of what the day looks like. Classes are 48 minutes each, and lunch is 30 minutes. So a little bit less for lunch, and it's the same schedule every day. I know there might be situations where you'd heard of A days and B days. I know you had that at the middle school, but it's the same schedule every single day in the classes in the same order. You have every class every day. And that Wednesday schedule, which we talked about before, there's an activity period at the end. So what that means is it's the same schedule, you have the same order as every other day, but the classes are a little bit shorter. So technically there's a dismissal at 1:40 on Wednesdays instead of 2:35, but all the students are encouraged to stay after and see their teachers. The teachers are here like a normal school day till 2:35, so it's a great time to pop into a few classes and see them for either some tutoring, or if you need to make up any missed assignments, any test retakes or things like that. It's a great way to get some after school work in without having to really stay after school. And that's every Wednesday. And we're going to talk about selecting classes. I'm going to show you what this looks like in a little bit, but we're going to talk about it a little generally here. All ninth grade students have English, math, world history, science. Those are the 4 core academic classes. Then you have a world language, PE and health, which I'm going to talk about in a second, how we do that here, and 1 elective. So just to talk about PE and health for a minute, in ninth grade, you'll have 3 marking periods of phys ed and then 1 marking period of health. And that's how it is really every year here at the high school, except in 10th grade, you'll have driver's ed instead of health. As far as the course levels go, we have college prep, which most students will be taking, but then we also have some honors classes available. If you have questions about that and recommendations for those honors classes, you can talk to your counselor or your teachers now. As you get a little further on in high school, we have some AP classes that are available as well, but these are your options really for ninth grade. And as far as the world language, which we talked about before, we offer Spanish, Italian, and French. So you can think a little bit about which class you want to take, and then because it's going to be recommended that you take that for probably at least 2 years. So think about what world language you might be most interested in, and then you can select that when we get to that portion of the schedule. So when we are talking about selecting classes, you will be selecting 7 periods, just, like we talked about, 7 periods in our day. And so, a full year course is 1 period, just like 2 semester courses are 1 period. So semester courses are half year courses, and we'll talk about credits a little bit later, but 2 semester courses will equal 1 period. So when we're looking at putting classes into our schedule, you would need to select 2 to make it that 1 period. And a little more information on the electives. You can see that the second arrow down where it says select 3 or more elective classes, where we're going to be talking about backup choices and alternates, which is really important because you might not always get your first choice elective. So it's really important to do some thinking and some research about the electives. And And there's lots of ways to learn about them. You can, when you meet with your counselor, they can talk to you about what electives are available. You can find out a little bit more which elective counts for what graduation requirement, and a little bit more about what the classes are so that you can make an informed decision. When you meet with your counselor, they'll go over your choices, and then you can also rank those elective choices, which means you can tell your counselor which class you like the best, which one you want to be your second choice, and then third, and so on, so that if you don't get your first choice, like I talked about, we can try to get you in your second or third choice. So I spoke a little bit there about schedule in general. Now I'm going to talk to you and let you see what it looks like when you go in and select your classes. So as we're showing you what it's going to look like when you log into PowerSchool to put in your course requests, we're going to show you how to get in first. So when you log into PowerSchool, you're going to look on the left-hand side and you'll see a button that says class registration. Okay, it's a couple down. You'll see it right there. It says class registration. When you click that, you'll see this screen here that says welcome to Bloomfield High School class registration system for 2022-23. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be putting in our requests for classes next year. Now your teachers have gone in and they've put in recommendations for you for the core subjects. And I just want to show you a little bit of what this looks like for when you do it. So you can see here at the top, it says welcome to Bloomfield High School class registration system. Please select courses from the areas indicated. And then you'll see different categories. So that first category, it says English. Please select an English course. Click the edit button to request a course. So over on the right-hand side, you'll see a little square pencil icon next to a red exclamation point. When you click that pencil icon, you'll see a bunch of English classes pop up. Now, it looks a little bit different here than what it will look like when you log in. The only difference of when you log in is you'll see there's been a class recommended for you. And you can tell it's been recommended for you because it will show up in bold. And on the left-hand side, right next to the class, there'll be a little checkbox for you to click. Okay, you'll see what that looks like a little bit later on when we do this. But when you go in and do this, again, you'll see the class that was recommended for you. You can click that class, and sometimes you might have to scroll down to the bottom to see which one you've been recommended for. There might be a situation where you have to click over to the next page and click over there. But you should see some class that's been recommended for you. Again, it will be in bold, and there'll be that little checkbox. And when you click that class, then you come down and you press OK. And then it will show up here on this screen. It will be a little square right there. And again, you'll see that a little bit more as we move forward. Okay, now it's going to be the same process for English, math, science, and social studies. So your 4 core subjects, English, math, science, and social studies, it'll be the same process. You'll be clicking that pencil icon, the classes will pop up, and you'll just have to scroll to find what class you've been recommended for. And then you click that, you press OK, and it should show up here. And then just as a check to make sure you did it right, you'll see on the right-hand side, instead of that red exclamation point, you'll see a green check mark. So at this point, if you've done the first 4, you'll see 4 green check marks. Then at that point, you'll see the next category says Phys Ed. Phys Ed is a little bit different as far as there's no recommendations for Phys Ed. We're all going to be really clicking the same thing. When we click that pencil icon, you'll see a couple different classes pop up. And even though you'll see there's 2 check boxes, I'm going to tell you everyone should be picking that first one that says Phys Ed 9. Okay, so that's the class that all freshmen are going to take when they come in. And remember, that's Phys Ed 9 that we're picking, that first one, not the Phys Ed 9 AM. So we click Phys Ed 9, we click OK, and then you see it right there on your screen. And again, that's what it would look like in those other categories as well, the English, math, science, and social studies. Okay, and then you see the green check mark over there on the right-hand side. And that's how you know you got the class in there. Okay, now as we move further down, you'll see the next category says world language. I talked about that before. We have the option for Spanish, Italian, or French. So you want to think about that and think which class might be, the one that you want to have as a 9th grader. And then same thing, when this opens up, you'll see French. You can see Italian there. They have the little check box. Again, like I talked about, you might have to go to the next page. These are listed in alphabetical order. So when you click to the second page, you'll see Spanish there. But again, those are your options, French, Italian, or Spanish. So you click next to whichever one you want. You come down, you click OK, and as you see on the screen, then it shows up right there. So you know what you picked, and you see that green check mark that we've talked about. Okay, so at this point, we've done six classes, right? And this isn't the order or anything of the schedule you'll have next year. We're just putting in the request. So we've got our 4 main academic subjects. We've picked Phys Ed, and now we've picked our world language. Okay, and then the very next category says electives. So it says any other courses not indicated in the other groups should be chosen from this group, including academic electives, fine arts, practical arts, personal finance, etc. Please select elective courses to fill one period, because there's one period left, right? We talked about there are seven periods in our day, 7 instructional periods. We've done 6 so far, which means there's 1 left. So we're going to do the same process where we click that icon, and now all the electives will appear here that we can take. Now, again, there's going to be more pages on this screen than we've seen in other places because there's a lot more electives to choose from. And like I talked about before, they're listed in alphabetical order. So if you're looking for a certain thing, you might have to click through and see what you're really interested in. And like I said, this is a good time to be researching electives. If you happen to know anyone at the high school or have any older friends or older siblings, it's good to talk to them to learn about these electives. This way you can really make an informed decision. So you'll go ahead and you'll pick a class. Let's say we're going to pick choir. We'll come down, we'll click OK. And then you'll see it right there again. Okay, so at this point, again, we've done what we needed to do where we've picked our 7 full periods worth of classes. And then the only thing that's left that we need you to add something to is where it says elective alternates. And this is really important because, again, if you happen to know anyone at the high school or as far as when they're picking their electives, like I said before, you don't always get your first choice with the electives. There might be a popular elective that everyone is trying to take. And so it's really important for you to put in these alternates. These are your backup choices. Okay, so think about this. So when you click that icon and you see all the classes come up, you're going to really want to look at what electives you want as your backup choices. Okay, and just remember another thing we talked about, credits. As far as 2.5 credits, you'll see that there. That means it's a half-year class or a semester class like we talked about before. So in order to pick one full-year course, remember if you're picking semester courses, so if it says 2.5 credits, that means it's a semester course. You have to pick 2 of those. So 2 semester courses, 2.5 credit classes equals a full year. So that's why when you see a class that says 5 credits there, that means it's a full year class. If you see classes that say 2.5, that means they're half years. So again, you would need to pick 2 of those to equal 1 full year class. So in this section here, in the elective alternates, in order for it to let you save, I believe you have to pick at least 2 full year backup choices. But when you meet with your counselor, you might be able to put in even more, and I would suggest putting as many as it will let you take, or as many as you're interested in, because really what's happening, this is in your best interest. So the more classes you pick that you're okay with as backup choices, the better chance you have of getting something that you want. Because if you just put in 1 or 2 classes and it turns out you picked popular classes that didn't get to fit on your schedule, then you're just going to be put into something that maybe you didn't want or you didn't pick. And then it's hard to change your schedule once it's already on there. So it's really in your best interest to look at all these electives, learn about them, figure out what you think would be good classes for you to take. And then the same thing, when you're done, you've picked at least 2 courses in this section, you can click OK.
Actually, before we click OK, I'm just going to point out at the bottom of the screen, it tells you whether you've selected enough classes or if you've selected too many classes. So if you went through and selected 10 classes, you would get this exclamation mark telling you you've chosen too many classes.
Perfect. Okay, so you click those. And again, you've got your green check mark over on the end. And then you can just do a quick check again when you look at your screen to make sure you've got green check marks going all the way down. And then once you do, you'll see this very last thing that you don't even have to worry about. It says additional request. Don't worry, it's already got the green check mark there. You don't have to worry about putting anything there. Once you've clicked all these things, there'll be a button on the bottom that says submit, where you can click. Okay, it's not on our screen because we didn't put in those first couple classes. But once you've put in all your classes, you'll see a screen that says submit. Once you click submit, that'll be saved on your end. And that's really important so that then when you go meet with your counselor can then see what you've put in, and you can have a discussion with your counselor about those classes, and they can make sure everything is correct. And if you have any questions about anything, obviously that's a great time to ask them. So like I said, think about these classes, especially the electives. In high school and when you get in school, there's lots of things that you just have to take. But when you get to the electives, that's really where you get to have some input and some say-so. So think about those classes so you can make a good list of and hopefully, and be able to enjoy the electives that you take. So that's what the scheduling process will look like on your end when you go through it. And like we said, if you have any questions, you can always talk to your counselor.
And I'm just going to add also, when you do meet with your counselor, the alternates, they're going to ask you what order do you want them in? Like, what's your first choice alternate? What's your second choice? the way they are on the screen right now, it doesn't really matter. So they're going to ask you that question, and you'll be able to tell them, oh, I want creative writing as my first alternate, and I want theater as my second, and so forth. So take a look at what you end up putting in there, and maybe rank them somewhere so that you know.
All right, great point. Thank you, Dr. Pierce. And now we're going to throw it over to Ms. Satula.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about attendance and grades and credits, kind of piggybacking on what Dr. Pierce and Mr. Gentry have said with some of the information. But number one, you have to realize in high school, everything works on credits. Therefore, attendance is a main factor in high school for passing and receiving full credit. Attendance does count, and you need to be on time to all of your classes. If you miss too many classes, you will not get credit in that class, and you will have to take that class in some shape or form for credit recovery later on in your high school years, and you don't want to do that. Passing at the high school is a 65, not like the middle school. At the high school, it is a 65. So that's another important thing for you to remember. To calculate our final grades, all 4 marking periods are averaged, which is similar to the middle school. However, you are also going to be taking a final exam at Bloomfield High School, which is different, and that will also count into your grade. And your final grade must be a 65 or higher in order to get credit for completing the course. Like Mr. Gentry spoke about, we have full year courses that are 5 credits and semester courses that are 2.5 credits. We don't really use the word semester a lot at the middle school, so it's new for you, but at the high school, semester means 2 marking periods. So let's say marking periods 1 and 2, you take a class, it ends. So a lot of our students are finishing up a class on the last day of the marking period and of second marking period. Then they go in third and fourth marking period, they'll take a new class. To graduate high school, the state of New Jersey requires 120 credits, and some of the state tests that you are all familiar with, you have to pass those and have 120 credits. So that we cannot stress enough about getting all your credits. Technology, just like the middle school, you will have Chromebooks. Do not break it. Don't lose it. It is yours. You will be fined. School email at Bloomfield High School is essential that you check that every single day. A lot of teachers and the counselors, Mr. Gentry and I, as well as Dr. Pierce, do communicate through email. So you have to get into that habit of checking your email every day. The good thing is the teachers do use Google Classroom, and you are all familiar with that. So that's something you won't be unfamiliar with. And then the final thing we want to talk about is PowerSchool. It is so important, and you should be doing this right now in 8th grade. And if you haven't done it, you need to start this habit, is check PowerSchool every single day to make sure that your grades are in. Check to see if you're missing assignments. In the high school in 9th grade, we have a RAFT program that is essentially here to help you. And if you miss an assignment or you take a test and you don't do so well, you have the ability to make it up, but you have to check PowerSchool to see where you're at and contact your teacher. And finally, the fun stuff. We've talked a lot about really heavy topics right now, but our fun things is about activities, clubs, and sports. I cannot say it enough. At Bloomfield High School, you need to get involved. And if you get involved, your high school years will be so much fun. There are so many activities. At the beginning of the school year, there will be an activity fair in our gym, and you can go and check out all the booths about all the activities, learn about them, see which ones you're interested in, and join them. Many of the activities do meet on Wednesday during the activity period. Some meet after school. It depends upon the club. But the more involved you are, the more friends you're going to meet. You'll meet friends from other age groups, other grades. You might meet some juniors and sophomores in the clubs. Sports. A lot of you are interested in sports, and in the spring, the coaches will be coming down to talk to you guys about sports. every freshman is eligible for fall and winter sport. But at that point, the grades will be looked at to continue in spring sports. So you need to keep those grades up if you want to be in sports, and get involved as much as you can, and your high school days will be really fun. So that's about it from us. If you have any questions, make sure to see your counselor at the middle school and ask any questions you have. And we are so excited to meet you next year. And we look forward to seeing you at the 9th grade orientation. So keep a lookout for when that date is coming. And as always, do your best. Good luck the rest of 8th grade. And we will see you very soon.